Hello, I'm Diego Pizarro from The Slime, and I'm going to be talking about one of my personal favorite movies that I think you should all check out, Oliver Stone's Talk Radio. This movie follows rude and brash radio shock jock Barry Champlain, host of Night Talk, as he becomes overwhelmed by the vitriol and hate he gets from his radio show. Now, director Oliver Stone is best known for movies like JFK, Platoon, Natural Born Killers, those kind of crazy movies. And I'll warn you, talk radio in comparison to those movies is a lot more mellow. But Oliver manages to make a movie about a radio show, which sounds like a boring concept at first, work as almost a thriller. And this is kind of done through chilling voice acting, stellar performances, and dynamic camera work. I also got to say, this movie just has an important message that I'll get to that has really only gotten more true since the movie was released in 1988. This movie is based on the play of the same name written by Eric Bogosian, who stars as Barry Champlain in the movie. So again, this movie kind of follows Barry Champlain, who's this sort of like radio show argumentative host who hosts this late night talk show, and kind of takes calls from whoever, and he's kind of known as like very similar to like Howard Stern and Opie and Anthony and kind of Rush Limbaugh and a lot of other famous American radio hosts. He's known not holding back, I'll take whatever. He's the tough guy, and he kind of takes whatever calls he can get, and he's the badass. And as the movie goes on, you kind of begin to see like a lot of these people you are letting on are like the scum of the earth, and white supremacists and Nazis, and just the lowest people. And he's kind of gives them a platform and argues with them and antagonizes them. And throughout the movie, you kind of begin to question his safety. There's events that kind of make you do that, and that's kind of how the movie kind of works as a thriller and kind of builds tension. But again, when you're talking to these callers, it's really the voice acting. There are a few callers who are genuinely like terrifying on the phone and make you feel uncomfortable. This movie does a really, really great job at that. It's almost the highlight to me is the voice acting, which is just stellar. I also want to do a quick talk about Eric Bogosian's performance as Barry Champlain. His performance as this character is so multifaceted. Barry Champlain is a really well-rounded character. So you got to think, first and foremost, Eric playing a radio host, he's got to be a damn good radio host, first and foremost. And these radio segments in this show are hilarious and genuinely entertaining, aside from the movie itself. If I tuned into the radio and this was on, I would definitely listen. And Eric's perfect in this. He manages to be motor mouth and kind of deliver quick lines. And you just kind of, you buy it right away. They drop you right into his radio show. That's how it kind of opens, and you buy it right away. At the beginning, you kind of think Barry Champlain, he's this cocky, confident host, but as the night begins to get more intense and more worrying, and as the hate he gets kind of begins to get to him, and also there's this kind of love triangle that I won't get too far into, that's kind of in the movie that plays out as sort of a side thing. You see that facade sort of try to slowly break down. And it's really in his facial expressions. They're so dynamic and really hold your attention. And he really, really sells this role. And again, Barry is just a really well-rounded character. You see how entertaining he can be, how brutal he can be. You can also see like how much of a nervous and scared person he can be. And this movie manages to communicate, like, yeah, even though he's this tough, I don't give a damn radio host, you kind of start to notice he kind of hates himself and is never really happy, and is a guy who, you can kind of see is really struggling. So just again, very, very well-rounded character. I also wanted to talk quickly about the camera work in this movie, which is absolutely stellar. So as I said, this movie is based on a play. So kind of plays out like one when you're watching it. It really only takes place in the radio studio. There's a few other locations, like you see Barry goes and visits a basketball game. Uh, I think at his girlfriend's house. So like a few things like that, but again, mostly in the radio studio. And that sounds like that would be nothing, again, on the surface, but the way they make use of the space is brilliant. I mean, they kind of have it set up. It's like this circular room, and there's like, of course, all these windows like there would be in a studio, but the camera is kind of always moving, trying different angles, messing with the focus to create certain effects. There's also because there's so many windows, when you're looking at Barry, you can still see some of the other characters in the background. So you really get this atmosphere like you're in the room with them, and you can kind of get the vibe of the room and see some of the other characters' faces while you're seeing Barry. So you really get this interactive experience that they're getting, kind of being in the studio. You kind of get that feeling. Back then, yeah, you had Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh, and these kind of argumentative radio DJs. Alan Berg, who's actually a real radio DJ that this movie's based on. Don't know if I mentioned that earlier as well. Um, but now you have people like Alex Jones, Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, Steven Crowder. There's plenty of talking heads going out and spewing opinions and getting into arguments. And I think a lot of people would argue that it makes us kind of desensitized. And if you kind of look at the world where we're in now, where just this hyper media world where there's a lot of arguing and a lot of media that's quite similar to what the radio show in this movie is like. It's a lot more polarized, and people just kind of don't have the same respect for debate. I think a lot of us would agree, and the world's just becoming a lot scarier place. So I think this movie asks a valid question. Is this type of content really helpful? What does it really accomplish, and what is the effect it has on all of us? So again, really deep movie, a really impressive movie. I also want to say, because it's a radio show, the movie's also very funny at times, so I don't want to completely discount it. And it also has very powerful ending that I don't want to spoil. But yeah, talk radio, great movie. Ask some big questions, give it a shot. This has been Diego Pizarro from The Slime. Thank you for watching.